How'd you settle here? Up at dawn, working the crops, rain or shine.
You'll discover there's worse arrangements.
Paul's a good man, Wyatt.
I ain't him.
Stop fretting about it.
You know I saw what's in the back of that closet.
I've done things I wish I could take back. I best go look for the rider.
Is he alive?
Barely.
What do you think happened? Some kind of shootout?
Stay here and keep my eye on him.
Who the hell are you?
My pa found you.
Well, go fetch him.
Won't you put my gun in my satchel? I don't know what you're talking about.
You gotta think long and hard on what you got yourself into.
Funny, I was about to tell you the same thing.
Riders. There's gonna be 3 of them.
I'm Sheriff Sam Ketchum. We've been scouting for a man on the run. He's dangerous.
They ain't lawmen. They bank robbers.
Your last name McCarty?
That's right.
First name?
Henry.
Why they didn't shoot you dead, I don't know.
I got this crazy idea. There might be more to old Henry than meets the eye.
Some shaky old farmer?
He didn't hold that pistol like any farmer I've ever seen.
Listen to me. What's going to happen will happen quick.
You got a lot of fight for a farmer.
You have no idea the hailstorm you fixing to let loose.
Consider me properly warned. Where'd you come from?
Every place on earth but this.
Who are you, Pa?
I'm back watching 30 movies. I'm back doing 30 podcasts. This is the 9th year of movie month. Please listen all June. All June. Old Henry, I watch today. Welcome back, everybody, to day 17 of Movie Month, where today I watched the 2021 Western Old Henry, starring Tim Blake Nelson, Stephen Dorff, Scott Hayes, Gavin Lewis, Trace Atkins, and a couple other guys. This movie is a very small movie, written and directed by Potsy Ponsaroli, not to be confused with Potsy Weber. This guy has directed a couple movies, a video, a documentary. He did something called Super Zeros, which is a They become superheroes or something. Don't know anything about that movie. And then he did 11 episodes of something called Still the King, directing, and then this was his awakening as far as a film director. He's going to be directing something called Providence in the near future with Tim Blake Nelson again, and a lot of big actors that I recognize. This movie was, I don't know what to say, excellent. It's the story of a man who lives out in 1906, lives out in like a rural area. Is it Oklahoma? I think. I don't remember. Lives out there with his son. He's just a farmer. He's a widower, and he just kind of lives out his day as a farmer. Doesn't want anything interesting happening around him. His son has this thirst for getting out there and doing things, but his dad's like, "You're just a farmer. This is what we do." And his late wife's brother, played by Trace Adkins, is the Uncle Al. He's like, "I'm going to go hunting" early in the movie, and you could see the kid's like, "Can I go?" He's like, "I don't think your dad would like that very much." And just happenstance happens to this. Now, this is a very small movie. It's a little over an hour and a half. There's, for the most part, 5 or 6 people in this movie. Towards the end, a few more folks show up. It's literally wall-to-wall dudes. Like there's a mention of a widower. Of the widower's wife. So there was a woman at some point, but that's it. Everything else is just, mostly it's a father and a son and a man that they come across dealing with 3 other guys, and that turns into a group of other guys. Now, they kind of, live their life in the middle of nowhere, do farming. They also have hogs. They make their own bacon. I don't know if they sell that to make money. I'm not sure. But maybe they don't really need to make money if they just live off the land. I don't know how it works, because I have no skills like that whatsoever. But a horse just shows up out of nowhere with some blood on it. And they're like, now, what the heck is this? Now, early in the movie, the first thing we see is some dude who isn't Tim Blake Nelson, isn't Henry McCarty, in a gunfight with these 3 lawmen that look like lawmen. Stephen Dorff, Richard, I don't remember his name. He's in Supernatural. He actually does a Supernatural podcast now. It's like Richard Spielet Jr. And a third gentleman who's like, he's a Mexican guy who this Stephen Dorff treats like crap. Like calls him dog all the time. Like, that dog can sure track. And all right, dog. Like he called him half dog a couple times or something. I don't know. But they're 3 together, and they come across. They're in a gunfight with this guy. They finally catch him down. And he's like, "Where is the rest of them? And where's the money? And where are they headed?" And this guy finally gives up who it is, like where they've headed. And instead, he just chokes them out. They leave him hanging, and they go on to try to figure out where the hell their guy is that they're looking for. Tim Blake Nelson, old Henry, sees the horse, tells the son, "You stay back here. I'm going to go investigate. You bring the horse there. I'm going to go look, see what's out there." Sees this guy half dead with a gunshot wound and with a bag of money. And he's like, nope, he's just going to leave it. Doesn't want anything to do with it. Doesn't want to get involved in any way. Starts walking away, thinks about it again, comes back, grabs the guy, grabs the money, and leads him back to his house. They nurse this guy. They start nursing this guy back to health. And he's like, "I need to go kind of figure out what the heck's going on out there." He goes out, leaves this guy tied up with his son. He goes out and comes across our 3 men. But they don't catch him. They don't quite see him. They don't know. But they're searching the area. So they get back to the house. This guy is starting to wake up. He almost attacks the son. He doesn't quite know what's going on. He claims he's the lawman and that those guys are impersonating lawmen. And there was a bank robbery or some kind of robbery. And when they were trying to fight them, he was able to get the money and get out of there. His partner was killed, and he was shot. And this is what he claims. you start to trust this man. He tells his son while the guy's still asleep, go hide the gun. He goes and hides this gun, hides this money in this closet, which his son kind of peers under the door and sees what he's doing. I'm spoiling the hell out of this. So if you haven't seen this, I mean, it is such a good, I'll stop right now and just say, I really like this movie. It's so small. It's just, there's moments of gunfire where you just hear the guns. I love that, with no music to create drama that doesn't need to be created. Let the actual action happen. Just a lot of nice, good dialogue, good acting. And there's like no special effects in this except for, gunshots. That's it. I love it. Especially with all the other movies I've been watching, it's good to have something like that. And Pig was kind of like that too. But this is like, this is different. This at least had some action to it. So when he goes out, that's when when he goes out looking for these guys, the son goes in the closet and wants to see what his dad hid. And then he finds another box and he opens it up and sees all these newspaper clippings and sees some guns. And he's like, oh, wow. He's thinking his dad has some sort of past. The man comes to. The man almost attacks the son, but they were able to tie him up. And there's a scene where Henry pulls the bullet out of the guy, and the guy explains who he is, what's going on. He tells him the whole thing about him being the officer of the law, the sheriff, and you start to believe him. And old Henry starts to believe him. He cooks him some food. He actually unties his hand to let him eat. He leaves his gun right on the table, and the guy looks at it, but he doesn't react. And I'm thinking, well, Henry knows he's left the gun there. Is he testing this guy? Does he trust himself? That's fine. And this guy starts talking about, where he was from, what he was doing, where he grew up. He talks about how he was in this area and he actually met Billy the Kid. He was there during one thing, came across him. And the guy's like, and you could tell old Henry not sure if he believes him or not. And then, what the hell happens? Oh, like we see little flashbacks of this guy as like a kid. And we see this guy keeps saying, keep your head down, everything will be fine. I think something like that. I may be getting it wrong. Then, one of the guys creeps up in the house, the guy from Supernatural. Old Henry basically goes outside, with his gun, shoots a few times under the house, grabs the guy, kills him with his bare hands. Friggin' great. His son realizes this, and he's like, what is this? You killed a man with your bare hands. He's like, I did stuff before your mom, before you that I'm not proud of. And you're thinking, oh God, this guy's going to be some kind of crazy killer. So eventually, Stephen Dorff came to the house one time and said, "Do you have this guy there?" He came with his two guys, and he's like, "Nope, get off my property." Blah 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 blah, all that stuff. He's like, "All right," and he goes out. Now he asks Henry McCarty. He says, "Henry McCarty, you remind me. That name sounds familiar, but I noticed that it says a different name on the ranch." He goes, "Oh, it's my brother-in-law's." "Oh, you don't mind if I pay him a visit?" So they go and pay Trace Adkins a visit, try to figure out more about this guy. He doesn't say a thing. They beat the crap out of him, and they end up dragging him back to the house with a bunch of other men now for the big showdown. The big showdown is, they show up, and Henry goes outside, and he's like, "Listen," and there's 12 guys there or something like that. There's 8 to 12 guys now. And they bring Trace Adkins down tied up. Eventually, Stephen Dorff asks Trace Adkins, "What can you tell me about this man?" He's like, "I'm not telling you shit." Boom, kills him right in front of his nephew and his brother-in-law. And old Henry, tells him, "I'll give you a chance to leave before, so you can all leave with your lives." All these guys, and he's standing there, one guy, and boom, he, I think the son fires a shot. He runs into the house. And he's like, "You could have got us killed." And he says to the son, "Keep your head down. Everything will be fine." And the guy who's hiding out in the house looks at him. And the music starts to build up. And you see him. He puts his gun belt on. or I don't know if he does it then and there, but he goes, he thinks back to the man who says it just to him. He goes, "Oh my God, it's you. You know, you were speaking Spanish then or something, and you were younger, but it's you." And the son's like, "Who? And he's talking about old Henry, and he says, "It's Bonnie," which is right, Bonnie, which is Billy the Kid. And I had no idea this was coming. I was completely spoiled free about this. I don't know the history of Billy the Kid. I looked it up afterwards, and it was Henry McCordy or whatever the name is, was his birth name. I had no clue that was coming. So when the big reveal came out, I went, "Holy shit!" And he's like, you realize this guy is an old Billy the Kid who survived. And then you're like, "Oh my God, he's just going to go crazy." He goes out there with his gun, pow, 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 starts shooting guys. He creeps around the house, stabs a guy, chang, 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 gets an axe, chops a guy, bang, 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 goes under the house, shoots a guy in the head. It comes down to him. There's the second guy who was with Stephen Dorff, the Mexican man. He was like, "No one has to die here." And they're speaking Spanish to each other. And the guy goes to put his gun down, but he has a knife. He pulls it out. Billy the Kid shoots it out of his hand. Well, Henry shoots it out of his hand, and then shoots him right in the eye. Boom, gone, dead. Boom. He looks around, and there's only one guy left, Stephen Dorff. This is when we get a gunfight. And what I like about it is it's not a Hollywood gunfight. It's like they're running around. They're trying to avoid each other. They're running from each other and shooting at each other. They're hiding behind little trees. They're jumping out, hiding back, waiting, shooting. And he gets shot a few times, but, you know, superficially in the shoulder and stuff, like he'd live. And he finally goes up on Stephen Dorff. Bam, bam, you're dead. Goes back to the house. And earlier in the movie, the first guy that we saw get killed had a tattoo. Then later we saw, I think Stephen Dorff had, not a tattoo, a brand. Then later on, Stephen Dorff had the same brand. Well, he goes back to the guy that he's been helping all this time. And the guy's like, "Oh, you know, are you okay? You going to be all right?" He's like, "Yeah, I got to use this cloth to stop the bleeding. I'm going to get the doc for your leg," because he was shot too. And he rips off, to stop his bleeding. The guy's bleeding. He rips off part of the sleeve, and he sees the same brand. And Billy looks at it, or Henry looks at it, and he's like, "Huh?" And all of a sudden, he's like, boom, you hear a gunshot. He's like, "I really wish he didn't see that." Turns out this guy was not, well, he was a sheriff, but he actually was a crooked sheriff who worked with Stephen Dorff. Then they found out that they were going to be double crossed, and him and his guy were going to be killed. So he thought he'd kill them first. So he was half telling the truth, half lying. They worked together. I don't know why Stephen Dorff didn't say that, but that would have cleared up a lot of things. But instead, Stephen Dorff pretends to be a sheriff, and now this guy shoots Henry, Billy the Kid, and he goes, and he gets up and he's like, "I'm going to be the man to kill Billy the Kid." He takes his gun out, and then bam, he gets shot from a shotgun. It's the son who took this guy out. And then the guy's like, the kid gets to be with his dad for 30 more seconds. He's like, "Go to the doctor." He's like, "No, it's too late. I did a lot of bad things, but the best thing I did was basically be with you, that I got a second chance to be with your mom and to raise you, and raising a boy like you has been amazing." Like, he says all these wonderful things to this kid, and it's like, oh my God. And then the next shot, he goes, you go out there, you see the world that you're supposed to see. And the next thing we see is we see him putting a stone on a grave for his dad that was right next to his mom. And then he has two horses, one with equipment, one with him, and he rides off into the day, and he's gone. So the kid who always wanted to get out there and do stuff and see the world goes out and sees the world. Henry, who is friggin' actually Billy the Kid, ends up getting killed in 1906, not back when they said Pat Garrett killed him. And he didn't grow old like in Young Guns 2, Make You Famous. But I love that. I love that little intrigue where, nope, actually this guy lived. I feel like they do that a few times with Billy the Kid. Well, at least with Young Guns 2 and this. But I love when they mix a story with reality and actual events. And the only thing is, if you know the story, when you see his name is Henry McCordy or McCurdy, forgive me if I'm getting it wrong. you're already like, oh my God, that's Billy the Kid's birth name. So I'm thinking of like, there's a podcast that I'm going to look forward to, and I hope they covered it. I'm almost positive they did. It's Hellbent for Letterbox. I know one of the guys on there, one of the hosts, is a huge Billy the Kid fan. So when he sees this, he's going, oh wow, that's going to be Billy the Kid. It's going to be it's still an amazing moment, but for like a layman like myself who doesn't know the story, hearing that. Or, discovering that, I was like, oh, snap. I didn't say, oh, snap. I went, oh, shit. I was like, oh, my God, that's Billy. Oh, my God, he's Billy the Kid. Oh, my God. So I loved that. Just a well-acted. Stephen Dorff was great in this, like as a Southern man with the way he talked. Trace Atkins was in it for 5 seconds. At the end, there's a country song. I said, oh, that must be Trace Atkins. No, it was some other guy. It was talking about fathers and sons, and it really was like, this was this little bit of life that he got to live in his 40s. In his late 40s, he got to be a father to a good kid who was going to go on to live his life. And that the song was like, oh, it was a little sad, but I thought it would be Trace Atkins, this country song. Nope, some other dude. Just really well acted all around. Small movie where it's like 95% of the movie takes place in and around this house. There's movement. There's some parts where you go off in these fields. There is a shot of like a flashback of a different house, probably the same house, different angles. There's, and that's really it. Oh, and then we go to Trace Atkins' house for like 5 minutes. But that's really it. And yet you see some beautiful landscapes, some beautiful cinematography. It really is. It's like you take a nice picture of a beautiful spot of land, it's going to just look gorgeous on film, and it did. Very small movie, but this is one of these guys now where I'm like, I want to watch what this guy does next. I can't think of the guy's name, but the guy who did like Bone Tomahawk, and then he did that movie with Vince Vaughn and Mel Gibson, and there's that Cell Block movie that I want to see. Like you get turned on to these directors that are almost like, it feels like a singer-songwriter thing where they're directing it, they write it, and it's not a big movie. It's like the small and intimate thing. Now his next movie, Providence, he didn't write. He's directing it, but I have a feeling he's going to be this guy who kind of does his own thing every so often too. At least I hope so, because I really enjoyed this movie. I watched it on Showtime. So if you have Showtime, go watch it right now. And if you didn't watch it already and you listen to this, I spoiled it. I spoiled it. But that's it. I think I nailed it, or I think I did as good as you come to expect for a movie month. So wow, we have another week done in the books, and what is it? 18? Did I say it was 17 earlier? It is day. What's today? 8. No, that's not the date. I was looking at that. That's at the 25th. I thought, did I fall asleep? It is June 17th. No, I was right the first time, the 17th. I'm all over the place. This month is a whirlwind. 17 days in. If my math is correct, 13 days to go, I believe. Wow. It's weird because you do the first 10 and you're like, oh my God, I still have 20 movies to go. Then all of a sudden a week goes by and you're like, whoa, I've only got 13 left. Like I'm well over the halfway point, and you try to figure out which movies you want to fit in, which movies you want to watch, which movies you can skip this year or skip completely and don't even you just give up on. But I still have plenty of movies to watch and plenty of podcasts to do and plenty of pictures to create for Instagram. Did you know you can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Geek Mentality? The Facebook page is simply Fans Not Experts. Every post for every movie month is there. The website is fansnotexperts.com. That's where you'll find every movie month since 2014. Every other podcast I do, Find Movies, Find Spirits. We have a Die Hard episode coming soon. We have a Parasite episode coming soon. So check those out. Hi, Chris. Chris might have heard this months from now because he hasn't seen Old Henry yet, so he's not listening to this right now. Stranger Things, there's a podcast called Stranger Danger. Check that out. That's where I do every episode of Stranger Things. I have a few more of those to do before we come back, before the show comes back in July. And, that's it. So, my friends, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Yeehaw, regulators! Until tomorrow, my friends, here is my theme song. This is my podcast. I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe. 'Cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time. And I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode. Fans not experts.